What's going on, YouTube? This is Boxingwave. Merry Christmas for everyone that celebrates Christmas. If you don't, like, happy holidays, whatever it is you celebrate. I just stepped out of my mom's house real quick. Just wanted to do some content and discuss Lomachenko real quick. All right, you guys saw my video the other day, and a lot of you thought I was going a little hard at Lomachenko, and I probably was, but it's more of a thing about, it's really all about this. I feel like when fighters they make excuses on why they lost, and just not just Lomachenko, but also the fans. I think when people make excuses about why they lost, and I know it's his perspective, and he knows his body, he knows his mind state going into the fight and everything like that. But when you do that, you kind of take away from the win for the guy that actually worked hard and earned it. He earned his spot and his opportunity at the title. And when you start making excuses on why you lost, it kind of takes away from the guy that beat you, And I've heard, even since the fight, I've heard all the excuses in the world, not just from him, but from his fans. Tio only won the fight because Loma didn't throw any punches in the first 6-7 rounds. Well, that's part of losing, and part of that is because the opponent you're facing is not allowing you to get off like that. Or it was also part of Lomachenko's game plan to strike later in the fight. He said it himself, maybe not in his most recent interview, but he did say part of the game plan was to go at him and attack him later on in the fight, which makes sense. This is a guy that, quote unquote, we heard that is struggling to make 135. He is the bigger guy, so he's not the more experienced fighter. This is the guy that's only been to, fought 12 rounds, maybe once previous to this fight against Nakatani. So that is a game plan that makes sense. So this is why I went so hard, because I have really, really high standards for Lomachenko, and for him to make excuses, and some of them kind of contradict themselves. When you say things like, when you express your injury, you talk about your shoulder, you talk about the injections, you talk about the pinch and the pain you felt in the fight. Remember, you were warned before going into the fight, and you still made the decision to take the fight knowing that you weren't 100%. Okay, so let's just start there, and we can just keep it there. You went into this fight with that injury and expected to, the outcome to be the same as your other fights, which I think from there, we don't even have to discuss everything else. From there, you messed up, because you claim you didn't underestimate your opponent, but you did. Even if it wasn't Teofimo Lopez, you shouldn't have went into a Jorge Linares fight with an injury, or Guillermo Rigondeaux with an injury. When Guillermo Rigondeaux claimed he had an injured hand, everyone attacked him from that night. They didn't even care about his injury, whether or not, they didn't even care whether he was faking it or not. They just said that he quit. They called him a quitter right then and there. They didn't care about the outcome, or they didn't care about hearing results of his injury. They just called him a quitter right there. And these are the people that thought, a lot of these people thought Rigondeaux was going to win that fight. A lot of these people claimed that Lomachenko was ducking this guy. So, you guys, you got to understand, like, he made the decision to go into this fight. And I think when you go into a fight knowing you're not yourself, and saying, that you didn't underestimate him, yes, you did. If you went into that fight as dangerous as it was, anyone that knows boxing know that this guy, Teofimo Lopez, was a dangerous opponent to go in a fight. I know he's fought other punchers. And I brought up in a breakdown, guys like Nicholas Walters, who was a puncher at the time too, who was a dangerous opponent too. But I personally just never viewed Nicholas Walters as good as a Teofimo Lopez. I just didn't, I think I seen much more talent in Teofimo Lopez before this fight than Nicholas Walters. And that's not a shot at Nicholas Walters because he was a good boxer. But there's levels, you know, and I just think Tio had just much more potential, even being younger, you know. But yo, let's talk about the rematch real quick. And this is the reason why I really wanted to make this video. And I kind of view it as Teofimo being that I consider this win to be the biggest win in a while and of any fighter, you know, and because Lomachenko is, you know, wherever you put him at as far as pound for pound, I considered him to be like a top 5 pound for pound fighter, wherever you put him. And I think beating him, and I thought it was a clear win, okay? I didn't think it was dominant, but I thought it was clear. It wasn't debatable to me. It just wasn't to me. I thought he won, and that was that. You know, I thought some of the, you know, maybe 1 or 2 rounds were maybe a little bit hard to call. But I thought for the most part, Teofimo Lopez won the fight clearly. Just the way I saw it. But as far as a rematch is concerned, it's going to be tough because just like I said about Canelo the other day, where he really can't win when you're at this level. Same thing with Floyd, Pacquiao, all the top elite fighters. Teofimo Lopez carrying 4 belts now and being in Lomachenko and having so many options at 135 because he's in the same class as so many other top prospects like a Devin Haney, like Ryan Garcia, who's about to fight, Luke Campbell. You have Lomachenko possibly for a rematch, and then you have mandatory obligations. When you hold, it's hard to deal with one title and not worry about mandatories and stuff like that. But having 4 at one time is a huge responsibility if you intend on holding all 4 titles, you know. I understand why he wouldn't want to fight Lomachenko in a rematch. You know, if he doesn't want to fight Lomachenko in a rematch, there's already people that's claiming that he's ducking Haney. And he might not even fight Haney, you know. He's most likely not going to fight him next. So the whole Lomachenko thing, and listen, I'm with it or without it. Either way, I'm cool. The Lomachenko argument, and this is my take on it, I think if anybody deserves a rematch, it's Lomachenko because he actually went into this fight holding 3 titles. Okay? T.O. came in holding 1, and he didn't have the resume anywhere close to Lomachenko's going into this fight. All right, so if anyone deserves a rematch, it's Lomachenko. But this goes to what I was saying about underestimating your opponent. How can you not include a rematch clause in this contract? How do you not do that? You're you're the A side. It's a clear A side. He's the one coming up to fight you. He's stepping up to fight you. You have to incorporate a rematch clause against a fighter like that. So the fact that you were injured going to the fight, the fact that, you know, you didn't even have a rematch clause in the contract, it's just too much, man. Like, what were you thinking going into this fight? You know, you were too confident in this fight, you know, and you spoke about all of these things before going into the fight. Not the injuries, of course, but the rematch clause, we all knew about it, and you just didn't think it made sense to do it, but now you want it, you know. And listen, and I know there's a lot of you Loma fans out there, you hardcore fans, and it's a hardcore fans all with everybody, but you gotta just take in some of these faults that Lomachenko had going into these fights, like this fight here. You were injured, no rematch clause, you know, totally underestimating your opponent here, you know, and the excuses after. Again, that 1 round judge, the judge that gave him 1 round, I do not agree with that at all. Okay, that 1 judge. But was I surprised that it was unanimous? No, I wasn't. I thought it was a clear win. All right. Clear means I am not like bouncing back and forth. Clear means to me where it's a comfortable enough win. I didn't think it was like a controversial win. It wasn't an expected win because Loma was clearly the favorite to win and he was the popular fighter. But Tio won the fight to me. And if you say he only won because Loma wasn't throwing any punches, well, Loma is the type of fighter that needs to throw a lot of punches. He normally, when he's winning, he's throwing a lot of punches. He's bringing on a lot of pressure, you know? And his most recent comments talking about he didn't feel any hard shots and stuff like that. Bro, like, not every shot, is it hard or is scoring points? Because there's a difference between hard shots and there's scoring shots. Not every shot that you land is a hard shot neither. You know, there's a lot of points, there's a lot of shots you land that are scoring shots. It still counts as a point. You know, now I'm not defending the punch stats because I didn't go through the punch stats. I don't always agree with the punch stats. But if you're just basing it on what shots you felt were clean enough shots after, you know, I mean, you're going to be biased for yourself. Are you counting the punches that you landed to? You know, like, you're going to be biased for yourself, you know? I think it was a bad idea to go into this fight. And it's like I said in the other video, it was a bad idea going into this fight knowing that you were injured. You needed to be your very best to win this fight, you know? And that's with the other fights. I remember the Jorge Linares fight, and at the time, I thought that was his biggest challenge up to that point. You know, I didn't think Luke was as tough, but I liked the fight that Luke fought. Like, I like his game plan. But going into this fight, I thought Teofimo was by far the most difficult challenge in Loma's career. You know, and the breakdown video is up for you to watch. That you guys can always go back to my videos and check out what I said previous to the fight, post-fight. All these videos are still up. I think it was a huge mistake to go into this fight thinking that you can win against this guy not 100%. You know, especially if you're really feeling pain. You need to be at your absolute best. And for the people that's really pushing for the rematch, remember, you know, I think about Roy Jones and Tarver. You know, if Lomachenko thinks that just pressing the action early is going to win him the fight, he has to be very careful with that. Because if there is a rematch and he presses the bigger, stronger, more powerful puncher while he's fresh in the fight, you can get caught. You know, you can definitely get caught. You know, I'm one of the guys that believe that Teofimo Lopez, the way he was boxing, I think part of the reason why Loma wasn't throwing the punches, we didn't see the angles that we normally see. You know, we didn't see him getting so close and being in those scoring positions where we normally see him in when he's fighting guys where he's more comfortable in. I think part of the reason why Lomachenko didn't attack early was because of who he was facing and what they were doing. Like what Tio was doing in the ring. You know, it was very dangerous if you're going to try to press this kid while he's fresh. Okay, because you don't want to walk into a big right hand. All right, and that's another punch that I was talking about leading up to the fight. All right, and how Linares was able to time Lomachenko multiple times in their fight. You know, and Lomachenko, I wasn't expecting him to press Tio early, you know? So we got to be very careful, because if Lomachenko goes into this rematch thinking he's the pressure from the opening bell, he might have another thing coming. He might walk into a shot that can actually hurt him, and we might get a knockout in a rematch. You guys is thinking rematch, Loma's going to do better. What if he doesn't do better? What if he gets caught and ends up getting knocked out? And then we have a bigger problem on our hands, because now, instead of just taking a loss, now he got knocked out cold, and he's going to even look worse and lose even more credibility because he said so many excuses, you know, and now he ends up getting knocked out, it's going to make Tio look better, and it's going to make Loma look worse. And I'm speaking directly to the people that's pressing a rematch and making it seem like Tio is afraid to fight him. You know, so I don't know if Tio's afraid to fight him. I just know that Tio might, he feels like he won and he wants to move on with his career, you know. I'm not mad at him for doing that because he has a lot of obligations and he has a lot of people that are going to be upset with him whichever way he goes, whoever he decides to face, you know. So anyway, I just wanted to speak on all of those things, you know, because I wanted to make another video about it, and I wanted to talk about the rematch and the other possibilities and the other opportunities. There's so many opportunities for this kid now because it's such a big win in a crowded division. And it's not like when Usyk won Undisputed, because when he won, by the time he won Undisputed, it was like at the very end, like he did the very most that he can do in the division. Whereas Tio won, and there's still a lot of people he didn't fight in the division. So there's still so much more he can do, unlike Usyk. You know, winning, becoming undisputed was the very last step after beating all of those people before the tournament and during the tournament. Whereas Tio, yeah, he beat Comey. You know, he had a good fight with Nakatani. When Nakatani was unknown at the time, Comey was known. But there's so many other fighters that he hasn't been in the ring with. And there's so many other fights that people want to see. So then you got mandatory obligations, you know. So anywhere he goes from here, people are going to be unhappy. He fights Lomachenko in a rematch. There are going to be people saying that he's ducking Devin Haney. He fight Kambosos, he's ducking Devin Haney. He's ducking Lomachenko rematch. Anywhere he goes, he fights Devin Haney, he's ducking Lomachenko rematch. It's always going to be people that are going to be unhappy because now you're the man and there's people all over the division, you know. So, and if Ryan Garcia beats Luke Campbell, he's going to be another guy. Tank is another guy. Like, it's so many guys. If Mikey decides, like, hey, this welterweight thing ain't working for me, I'm not getting a Pacquiao fight, I'm not getting a big fight, I'm going to come back down and fight. You know, it's going to always be someone. All right. So anyway, Merry Christmas again. Just wanted to address that. And I'm going to go back inside, man. I'll see you guys on the next one, man. Peace.